Oh, hi. Thanks for coming by my channel. I just got a video from Duncan Koerbel. He sent it to me and asked me if I could take a look at his flying and give him some advice. You came at just the right time. Let's take a look. Looks like Duncan is flying an extra 300 or maybe a 330LX or one of those variants. And I know he's flying in Colorado. That's where he's from. He's going to be flying the advanced known sequence, which starts with a bow tie. And Duncan's preparing himself for the WAC, the World Advanced Aerobatic Championships, which will be in Las Vegas, Nevada in, I think, 2022. So here we go. Duncan's about to dive in. Great. Now I'm just going to do a play-by-play. I might stop the video. Let's see what we see. And there will be no reshoots. This is not a high production quality channel. So just, you get what you get. If I stutter, you get to hear me stutter. Here he goes, wagging in. And those are good wags. But you know what? I already see something I want to cover, because this could be really helpful. Let's watch those wags again. Let me stop it. Okay, yeah. Let's go back again. Here we are. Yeah. So look at this point on the ground in front of the plane. That has some shadow there, so we can watch that as he does the wags here. Okay, one wag, and it's already covered up. Two, and now this area is covered up. Okay, there was a little, canyon kind of thing that was covered up too. So we shouldn't be occluding more and more of the ground as we do our wags, and the only reason that would happen is if the line is changing, or it could be wind. But you're high up, Duncan, and I don't think the wind is an issue. It's probably just the line is changing, and that's easy to do. So I have my model airplane here, which is going to come in handy now. If you are maintaining a line, then any point you look at over the nose at the ground, it will just stay visible no matter what you do with the ailerons, right? So what's happening is you're actually getting more and more shallow as you do your wags. If you were to do a line on a 45 down and not do the wags, then you would notice that to maintain that line, you'd have to add stick pressure. Depending on your trim of your airplane, most likely you'd have to add stick pressure to stay on that line. And I would imagine what's happening here is you're relaxing that stick pressure during the roll or at some point when you initiate the roll maybe. But it has to be maintained. It has to be blended out and then back in again. A little awkward maybe, but that is a good thing to practice. And the good news is you get to do a lot of wags, and you get to practice it every time you do your wags. So that's one thing I noticed right off the bat. Might speak to your roll technique in general, but I don't know yet. So let's just keep watching. Now figure one is a bow tie. You'll pull to 45 up. Now we're really going fast here. We're probably close to V&E. I can't quite see the airspeed indicator. Pull to 45 looks a little soft, but you hit 45, no complaint there. 1.5 roll. I'm going to just go back to that. We can use the clouds ahead of us to see, and it does look to me like you might be changing the angles. Let's take another look at it here. And it's going to be hard to tell because these are clouds, and I just can't quite see. But I think you are shallowing out during that roll. Okay, so the roll has to be centered. It's supposed to be centered on the line. I think it probably is pretty close. I'm not going to knock you there, but I think you're going a little fast as you pull. Possibly you could have waited on that line just a bit longer. And the reason that it matters is that you want the radius of the pull to vertical down to be constant. And if you're a little slower, you can pop the nose off and start that rotation and then increase the G at the end and finish up vertical and keep the radius constant. But when you're going fast, actually whether you're fast or slow really, it's very easy to draw that out and have a radius that's no longer constant. And that's kind of what I'm seeing in this pull here. And then let's just continue. And that was a very short line there. Oh, I see. Okay, stop. It is a short line. Could be longer probably. And this is a very big radius here at the bottom. They don't have to match. Top and bottom don't have to match. But that is a pretty big radius at the bottom, and I'm not sure it was a constant radius. It must be constant. Looks like you're shallow after the roll. And now we're pushing. The next figure is a half loop down. But okay, so there needs to be a longer line. Pull to 45. Here, I'll use my airplane. Pull to 45. Do your roll. Wait. Push. Wait. Push. It was just too much rounded out of the top. Might not look like a line between, especially because you're slow up there. But let's just go ahead and continue. So you started off just fine with your push, and here it's getting the push. Unfortunately, the bad news is that you have to increase the G's, you have to increase the stick pressure to make a round half loop. And when you're flying advanced, there's just no way around it. You're going to be pushing -5 G's pretty regularly to make these figures look crisp, especially in extra, which needs to fly at a pretty high airspeed to perform well. So I think that you're just letting up on the G too much. Having said that, I understand that it's very hard, and you get all the time you need to get to where you feel like you can do that, and you're just going to have to just get acclimated to it. That's all there is to it. Now, I think looking at this line, if you're trying to establish a line after that, there's a quarter roll, 3/4 opposite that I'm expecting. The nose looks a little high. Possibly you're actually past horizontal. Hard to tell. I'm reminded that your body, because you're hanging from the straps and the camera's on your head, maybe it's just what it looks like. Maybe that's not what's happening, but it looks like you're a little bit past horizontally. But okay, now we have a quarter roll, a little under, and 3/4 opposite. Looks okay there, looks good. You could stick that quarter roll a little longer. Now we have a pull to vertical, very soft pull. Let's just go into that, 'cause a couple soft pulls here. When you move the stick in general, the stick should move very quickly. Almost every time. Almost 100% of the time. Not quite, but for all the pulls and transitions from one line angle to another, very, very brisk stick movement. Not so brisk you'll hurt an airplane. Someone who's flying a tailorcraft might not want to do it as briskly as they possibly can. But in extra, you probably can't break the airplane by pulling too quickly. So when you are moving from one line to another, pop the stick back and then pop the stick back to neutral when the curve is done. That's the best technique. Okay, so you're vertical now, and I also notice you're looking out the right side, which is fine. I just realized that that's watch that again. Okay, left. So yeah, so okay. Hey, you can look out at whatever side you want. I haven't seen someone do that. You're establishing the vertical line to the left, looking to the right. Maybe you're under the impression that you should look to the right because you're rolling to the right, but I look to the left 100% of the time. I have played with looking to the right. I don't know anyone who does that at this point. Everyone I know, I think I can say looks to the left. In fact, what we try and do mostly is look to the left and slightly down, so you can actually get peripheral vision of the ground. That helps you when you start doing double rolls or 1.5, 1.25 rolls. It really helps to be able to see a little bit of the ground a little more. So we try to fixate on the sight at the left side. Try to look a little bit behind us as well. So think about that. But you don't have to look right. If you want to, I guess it's okay. Just maybe unnecessary for you to think about that. Okay, so let's just go back, actually, so I can watch again. Okay, establish the vertical, 2 of 8. You're dragging the right wing there a little bit, I believe, too. And now we do the pull over the top. Okay, that's going to be closing low, I think. So go back to dragging the wing. What's good is look out left and right on a vertical line sometime. Make sure that your wings are lined up. And then what I did is I put a piece of tape on the left-hand sight, a piece of white tape, so I know what angle I should be at. I can actually just lay that up on the horizon, and that way I don't have to worry about dragging a wing. Maybe do that. And then as far as the pull goes, you need a constant radius, right? It has to be constant. Well, in order for it to be constant, you're going slower as you go up. Slower, and then faster. So you really need to think about, just like the other pulls from 45 to vertical or whatever, that you have to sort of increase the G, right, as you get near vertical down. On the way up, you can float. And on the way down, pop it at the end of that rotation. That'll look better from the ground. It also gives you more room. You're finishing up the turn sooner, so you have a longer vertical line apparent to the judges, as well as more time to build up energy. So it'd be better for you. No downside to that. Okay, now we have a 3/4 snap, positive snap, followed by a half loop at the bottom. This is a double Humpty. This is figure 3. So let's watch the 3/4 snap. Okay. Well, short after the snap. Okay, I would say the snap. It's very hard to show the nose movement, which is a requirement for a snap on a vertical down. You must show pitch, initial pitch, and it's not easy to do that. So what we want you to do is exaggerate it, really yank to get the nose to move. And then what I would recommend is rudder pretty much at the same time as the nose movement. Just put it in right away. And then when the nose has moved and you're ready to do the snap, it really helps to push the stick forward and then hook it over towards the same side rudder. So if you do that, you'll get a lot crisper looking snap. Now, it's truly, technically, you should be able to do your snaps without any aileron. But it happens that your plane's going to rotate better and you're going to score better, I believe, if you just go ahead and get used to using full aileron with your snaps. That doesn't mean that that what's happening with the elevator isn't very important. There's sort of a hooking motion I mentioned. You need to play with that a little bit to find the sweet spot for your airplane, but you'll want to have full or nearly full aileron in on these positive snaps at least. And if that means you're accomplishing more of the snap with aileron than rudder, that's okay. Judges will say that's not okay. The rule book says it's not really okay. Sort of. It doesn't really say that, but that's the interpretation. But the reality is that you're going to need to have a lot of aileron because these half and three-quarter snaps are over with so quickly. There really isn't time for the rudder to go in and out so quickly. You need to help it to make the plane rotate. Otherwise, you overshoot. Okay, enough of that. Now, the line after the three-quarter snap looked short to me. And I know you have a big pull here. But the trick to that is to get your airspeed up to a good carving speed, which is at least 180 knots in the extra. As far as I can tell, that's just what you want. And then you want to have, let's say, 7 Gs at the bottom of this pull. So go ahead and get to it. Pull the stick and pop it to the position that it needs to be at to hit 7 Gs at the bottom. What is that position? I can't tell you. You won't know until you do this 100 times, granted. But every time you do it, just try to pop it to what that position will be, and you'll find the Gs will increase, 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 decrease, 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 decrease. You'll find that if you hit it correctly, it'll be easier on your body than it is to load up progressively, quite a bit easier, and you'll find you have more energy after the pull. Really important technique to understand. So that's something to think about here. We'll continue. And after this, we have an inverted spin. Figure 4 is an N. So we're finishing up figure 3 now. Okay, that pull seems soft to me, but it's okay. And if you're at your limit of your G capacity, then you do whatever you have to do to feel comfortable in the airplane. I'm not shaming you. I'm just letting you know how I see. It's okay. Now we should have an inverted spin, and this is a long line before the spin. So right here, I'm going to stop it. After you get to the inverted position, depending on your spacing in the box, granted, but assuming that you're in the spot you want to be in, just chop the throttle and get the nose up even higher. I see it's high, but even higher. Quite a bit higher than that even. Quite high. It's okay. And that'll just help you slow down. It'll help you control where you're dropping the spin, and you'll be a lot happier with it if you do that. Okay, now we have a spin. And, okay, so that stall, there definitely was a stall. But the thing about it is that the rules require that the aircraft rotate on all 3 axes simultaneously, roll, pitch, and yaw, all 3 at the same time, which if you think about it is like this, right? And I will say that I've never seen a rule so disregarded in my life than that one, because even at the Worlds, especially at the Worlds, right, and the Nationals, at very high levels, many spins begin with roll. Actually, I've seen people roll and then begin a spin only after the first half roll or so. As a judge, I can't give that a good score because I just don't think that's conforming. But as a pilot, sometimes I want to fly it that way because that's just how people fly when they score really well. I'm conflicted. But I will tell you that the important thing is that you're able to fly it either way. You should be able to fly it with a nice full stall into a big flat spin, or you should be able to fly it with a kind of a weak stall and a forced entry into a half roll. So keep playing with it. Okay, it looked to me just a little bit like you might be a victim of what the airplane wanted to do in that situation. Very hard to tell, but it just looked from the entry like the stall kind of happened, and then okay, I got to spin it now. Should never be like that. It should always be that you've done something with intent. So that's just something to think about as you're flying. Okay, so this is a one-turn spin. Yeah, it's not a bad spin or anything. So I feel like I got nitpicky there, but it's just something to talk about. And this pull here, again, same technique we need from the other pulls, but not bad. Now we have a half snap. This is an end figure. It's figure 4. And you went to the right. That's interesting. Most people favor the left. Definitely short after on that one. And I can just tell you that if you do your half snap, you'll be slow after. You need a lot more time on the second part of that line than the first part. So that's definitely short after. On the snap again, it's almost impossible to get the foot in and out fast enough. So pull hard, foot in basically the same time, hook it over, and release. There's almost no snap in a half snap. If it snaps, it's going to over-rotate. So you kind of get just the very beginning of the snap. And I always tell people it's like, I'm going to snap the crap out of this shirt. I'm going to snap it so hard. And then you say, I'm not going to snap at all. That's how it feels to do it. Okay, so now we're pulling to vertical down in figure 4. And Not a lot of line down there, and that's bad because you have a 45 up. So you're going to be happier if you get more speed between these figures. I can tell you right now. Okay, 45 up, quarter a little over, quarter. That might not be bad. Probably a little short after there, pushing to vertical. And now we have a hammerhead. You don't look vertical. You look close. I would say you were a little on your back there. And that looks like you kicked too soon. And now I'd say you're maybe a little positive down. So maybe some work on that there. Half snap looks slow again and short after again. So you're just kind of hearing a theme. I'm not going to harp on it because you're hearing the same theme here for a couple of these things. Okay, now we have an S. So right here, be nice if you had more airspeed. I can barely see the airspeed indicator. I can't quite tell what it says. I'm not going to bother. But for this S, you want to have tons of airspeed. It's just going to look much, much better. And I don't think you have quite enough to get this, to make this look crisp. So pulling over, this is a 5/8 loop. Figure 6 is an S. 2 5/8 loops with a 4 of 8 on the 45 down. So here we go. 45 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad. More airspeed means a little bigger, means a little longer 45 down, means crisper points. No downside. 5/8 loop again. And now I have a 1.5 roll. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. Now we have figure 7 as a roller. It's a 270 turn with 3 outside rolls. And, okay, so there's no, okay, yeah, there's no turn there. Yeah. Okay, I can't watch and talk at the same time. So, it's just tough. It's hard. Don't want to beat you up over it. But the rule is that the aircraft has to have a continuous turn with continuous rolls. And what I saw was the turn stopped. And the reason that stopped is it looked like there was really not a lot of turn going on at the point where you'd have to push. The beginning of the turn and the beginning of the roller is going to need inside rudder. So if you're rolling right but turning left, you're going to need to push on the left rudder to start. You're going to need to roll to the right, but you need to push. And you need to push so much that by the time you're inverted, you've done 45 degrees of turn. But it looked like you were doing more like 25 degrees of turn. That's a lot to make up for. Now let's see how the other two go. You have 180 degrees of turn left and 2 more outside rolls left. And this one's not quite finished. Okay, so that's finished. Now we have another one. There's a lot of roll. Okay, almost maybe 15 degrees of turn in the first 90 degrees of roll. Maybe not even 15 degrees. Less, yeah, less. Okay. And now again, I'm looking at a point on the horizon here. It's not really changing relative to the airplanes. It doesn't look like there's much turn happening there again. I think that might be better. Okay, then here you can see the makeup. You have to make it up. And now you're really stretching this out here. And I think that you're new at rollers, and I don't think you should be, beaten up over this. It's just what it's like to learn rollers. That's what it looks like. And eventually you get it to where it works better. Just focus on how the turn has to continue, and everything should feel balanced. Okay, now this is interesting. So they have you pulling to a Humpty. I'm going to tell you, you'll see this all the time. They put you in a position where you're doing a roller at a fairly slow airspeed, and there's a vertical after the roller. Very common sequence construction idea. In unlimited, it would be probably a pull to vertical with a 2 of 8 and then a tail slide. And it's like the worst possible time to do a tail slide because you don't have much energy. But that's what they do. So the trick about that, you want to make a nice, crisp, as long a vertical as you can, realistically. You want to give yourself energy. And you're going slow. So how do you do that? Well, one thing is out of the roller, you can keep the nose a little low. That helps a little bit. It doesn't help a lot, but it gives you something. The other thing is when you go from that line to pull vertical, I know you're going slow and I know you're about ready to stall, and I understand that. But if you can still just pop the stick back to some G position, let's say it's only 4.5 Gs because you're only doing, 170 knots or whatever, and you'd feel like you can only get 5 Gs out of it. As much as you can, practice so you know where that G position will be, and still get to it right away so the carving can happen and you can have more energy when you're done. If you feel for it like it looks like you're doing, then you just lose vertical. A couple hundred feet you could be playing with. Now, that's a lot to ask your first few times doing it. It's just something to think about as you go through it. You'll get better at that. Okay, so we're in a Humpty again. Vertical line. Let's pull the Humpty. Really pop in the nose. It's better to pop the nose and get the turn started, and then really increase the back pressure as you get through the slow part. 3/4 roll. Looks good. Short after. Okay, there's another one where there is just no downside to being at V&E before figure 9. Be much better. 2 of 2, and then this will be a half loop up. And the 2-2 looks good. And now we have a 4-point roll on the top. So 1, 2, and a stall. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And now you're just going to wag out. That's the last figure. Figure 9's the last figure, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. But look, the stall in the roll, that's not a roll technique issue. That's just not have enough airspeed. You don't have airspeed because of figure 8. Get yourself more airspeed at the bottom of figure 8. Hit your 2 of 2. Pull a little tighter and keep the stick back. So we have a tighter radius. You have more energy on top. Hit the 4 of 4. That's all you need to do there. No big deal. Okay, lots of good stuff in there. And some themes that I guess I can recap. I'll see if I can remember them all. But I would say the themes are airspeed. There are several figures here, like after figure 2, after figure 4, after figure 5, after figure 8. There is no downside whatsoever to having the plane at VNE, and everything's gonna be better. You're not gonna lose energy because you're gonna gain it back as you do your verticals. You'll get almost all the energy back. It's going to be more comfortable. You might be worried about the G loading, which I can understand, but you can keep the G's in check and just use your airspeed and get through the turn faster, and you'll probably be just fine with it, especially if you get the G's on a little quicker. You'll find that the progressive loading of G is a little harder on you than just hitting it most of the time. So I think you'll be okay with that. So faster, that's one thing. Another thing is the roller. Just do a bunch more rollers. I think that's it. Just practice it a bunch. I had trouble learning that, and I can't judge, but it is important that the turn continues all the way through, and that means more negative G at the very beginning in this case. Negative G in general probably is a topic. Figure 2, there's a really big negative G push, but nothing you can do but just do it. And what you want to do is just pop the nose, let the airspeed build up, and then push. Okay, that's all you can do. Another theme for you, I think, is just rolls in general. You should probably try doing some rolls without rudder. Do some slow rolls, like 15-second rolls. This is going to sound crazy, but do them without any rudder at all, just aileron and elevator. And the reason is you might be surprised how much you can get done with elevator, and you might find you don't need as much rudder as you're trying to use right now. I think you're using a little more rudder than you need, and I think you're actually letting the nose get behind the roll, and you're like fixing it with rudder. The thing about a really good competition roll is that it'll feel like you're rolling around, like your solar plexus or your sternum or something. It'll just feel like you're rotating around that point. If you start feeling a lot of side load and all this other stuff, well, that means there's something wrong with your roll technique. I can't tell from a head camera video. It's just not possible. But I think probably you could go back to some fundamentals on that and work on that. On the snaps, like I said, almost impossible to get the foot in and out fast enough. You have to use your foot. You want it to be driven by the rudder. But the reality is you're also going to be assisting with ailerons quite a bit. So it's okay to just pull the stick back briskly, rudder goes in, stick hooks over, full aileron, and then in the half snap case, it's basically like started and then stopped. In the 3/4 snap, it's held a little longer before it stopped. And let's see, the other thing I would say is on all the pulls 2 vertical down, increase the rate of rotation of the airplane as you near vertical considerably from where you are right now. You're eating up altitude that could be used for gaining energy and could make a better presentation if you just went ahead and pulled the stick back a little more at the end. And let's see if I can think of anything else for you. I think that's a pretty good summary. Nice job. Good flying. I'm really excited to see you do it. Duncan, I hope you let me see how you're doing later on. And by the way, this is a free service. I'm happy to do it for anybody. If you have a video, people do send me videos all the time. I never thought to do this before. It's probably a good idea because I can get a lot of communication out to people. So please send me your videos. If you don't mind, I'll just do this with them, go over them. I don't have to say your name if you don't want, but if you don't mind, that's helpful too. And we get to watch some people progress, and I get to give out information. Good for everybody. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by, everybody. I'll see you next time.